Hi, I'm Dr. John Demartini. I'm a human behavioral specialist and consultant and educator and author. Today, we're going to be doing something amazing. We're going to be talking about how you can take your business to another level, how to help people be engaged, how to live really meaningful and prioritized lives so they can be the most productive individuals. I've spent decades doing whatever I can to help people do exactly that so they can have a masterful life, a productive life, so they can be of service and live a prosperous outcome. On this show coming up, we're going to be addressing that and more.
Welcome back to part 2 of our delicious conversation with Dr. John Demartini. He is a researcher, an author, and a global educator. He is the founder of the Demartini Institute and has been teaching for multiple decades. He is the author of multiple books, many books published in various languages. And in part 1, we were talking a lot about, how to elicit these values. And oftentimes when we're asked about our values, we tend to say more about what we think we should say rather than what is our truth. And, and I realize that is a confronting issue for many people, is to actually realize that maybe, I talk about the distinction between values and maxims in our work, because values are often, as John was saying in part 1, they're really sort of societal idealisms really put upon us, and we say things like family or whatever it might be, yet as John was saying earlier, that's not a priority in our lives. We're not spending any time with family. So it's an idea, but not truth. And so we were talking a lot about that in part 1 and about really getting down to this. And of course, the value of it in the context of being a leader. What does it mean for you to be able to really elicit that from your people, and the power of it in the employment process of how do you take people on? And John was just saying that really that when you do this right, the engagement goes up through the roof. Now, one of the things that you like to talk about is, and you talked about in your book in values, is people taking a break. There's a need to take a break, but in a very different way than what we think of it. We've got a lot of things these days that are saying, according to the mind, that people need to take a break every 45 minutes. And, and you push back on that. And I really like what you have to say about that, because I'm in full agreement with that. So talk to us about this conditioning where the boss is now giving you a 5-minute break every 45 minutes. And you kind of think that's a bit nuts. Go ahead.
I'll share a story. I was in Kingston, Ontario, teaching one of my signature programs called the Breakthrough Experience, which I've taught 1,135 times. And there was the head of the Harvard Business College there. And he attended the program. At the end of the program, he says, "I'd love to take you to dinner." And I said, "That would be wonderful." We went to dinner. And he said, "Something you said about drive and commitment level really hit home to me this weekend." I said, "Fantastic." He said, "I want to share what I mean by that." And he said, "Outside my window, I can see a courtyard, and there is all the professors' offices and their windows." And he said, "As a general rule, all the professors, the doctorates, their lights start going on around 5, 6, maybe 7 o'clock at night. The professor emeritus's, I can see about 7, 8, 9, or even 10 o'clock at night. And the Nobel Prize winners there are after midnight there almost every night. They are so engaged in what they do, they transcend time and space."
Mm-hmm.
What I found is that we have a forebrain and a subcortical area of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
the medial prefrontal cortex called the executive center, and we have a subcortical area called the amygdala. The amygdala is involved in avoiding predators, seeking prey, avoiding pain, seeking pleasure, avoiding challenge, seeking ease. And it searches with short space and time horizons for immediate gratification, and is impulsive, compulsive, and addictive and consumptive. And anytime we're not engaged and inspired by what we do, that area of the brain gets blood glucose and oxygen and comes online, and we get easily distracted by impulses or instincts.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think, I need a break when we're not engaged. But
Right.
anybody who's doing something so deeply meaningful, so inspiring, so fulfilling, that they lose track of time, they become really present. They're inspired, enthused, and they really are present and certain that this is what I want to learn and do and act on. They lose track of time. They don't focus on breaks. We've even studied the bladders of these individuals, and people that are very present, their bladder doesn't give them feedback, but much later that, okay, I've got a full bladder now. It affects physiology.
Yeah.
So when people are inspired by what they do, are fully engaged in what they're doing, and they're enthusiastically working and really present and certain that it serves and is meaningful and it makes a difference, they don't care about breaks.
Right.
They don't live to eat. They eat quickly to live.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to escape unless it's going to help them move forward in solving a problem that they're wanting to engage in. Just like a young boy who loves video games, the second he conquers a video game, he wants to go to a more advanced game because he's engaged in it. But the second you ask him to do his homework, he goes, oh, you got to motivate him. Motivation is a symptom, as I said earlier. But when somebody's engaged, they actually love solving problems, which activates genius and innovation and creativity. And they feel that it's their problem to solve, and they don't even think about taking a break. They don't live with Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days, thank God it's Fridays, and week friggin' ends. They're not living a schizophrenic environment where they want to break, they want to take a vacation, and they want to hurry up and retire. They're inspired and engaged in something meaningful. And there's a difference between an impulse, quick, immediate gratifying fix, which costs companies immensely by disengagement, and amygdala responses and addictive, compulsive, and impulsive behaviors, which are symptoms of unengaged, uninspired, executively functioning people. So breaks are symptoms in many cases. I'm not saying you don't want to take eventually a physiological break for food sustenance and void, but the breaks artificially done just to dissociate because people are disengaged is a symptom, not a solution for the companies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that it also becomes it has an energy drain. I mean, I get that people are saying, well, my energy's drained, I need a break. But it's also can be an energy drain to take the break because you've got a switching problem inside of the brain. And now you've pulled energy away and you've got to refocus and come back. And now there's an upgrade into the new, coming back to the very thing you've written or did or you were working on. And then now you've lost that 10 minutes trying to get back into that. And this is part of the problems with the open workspace, is that people are often distracted or interrupted when they get into a flow. And so it's a very interesting thing. We are communal. We need the vibe of other people. We need that. We're tribal. We feed off that, but we also need the access to, you know what? I need to shut everybody off because I'm just like right in there right now. And I'm just loving this. And we've all had that experience of being in the flow with something. And so getting to that in your workspace, but now we're in this other phase of life. And this other phase of life at a business level is we are, as we record this, we are the world of business is experiencing what is being touted as the Great Resignation. Millions of people are walking away from jobs because of this. They're walking away because of exactly what you and I talk about, that There's a lack of meaning in what they're doing. You know, we can blame all kinds of things, but really that's what it is. It's a crisis in meaning. And people are saying, I'm not engaged. I need to do something that's meaningful. So it seems to me like what you're saying there is that there's a need at the front end to get really clear that everybody coming in is highly engaged based on their priorities, their values for that. Get that. At the same time, we've got a supply chain and a workforce loss. And so a lot of these companies are going the other way, which is just give me anybody. I'll train them.
Can I share another story?
Back orders.
I got a story. I was asked to speak at IBM, and there were 400 people there at this particular branch. It was a regional branch.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me, the lady that invited me to speak, asked me to speak on this particular topic. And that's what I assumed I was going to do. And then they come to introduce me, and I come up on stage. And it's a pretty small room for 400 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, all right, how many of you can't wait to get up in the morning and get up and come to work for one of the greatest companies in the world, IBM? Just out of curiosity, how many, I started with that. And no hands went up. Only one in the front, the regional manager. And I thought, can you all hear me? Is the microphone on? I said, how many of you can't wait to get up in the morning and go to work for one of the greatest companies in the world, IBM? The hands didn't go up. The regional manager did. But this time he looked around and saw that nobody's hands were up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stopped my topic. I got down off the stage, which is distancing me from the people. I took a risk. The lady in the back didn't know what was happening. I came down and I started walking down the aisle. I said, I'm going to change the topic today. The name of the seminar is going to be, make a decision, crap or get off the pot, excuse the expression.
I get it.
Are you going to go to be, are you engaged here or are you not? Because if you're not, you're costing your life and you're costing this company and you're costing the customer. And I went in there and just nailed him. The regional manager was turned around half the time, swiveled in his chair, listening in. And when I got through, 400 people, 75 people gave their notice. 75 people. And this is right at a downturn in this region because of the city was in a downturn. It was kind of a down because of oil industry at that area of the country. And 75 people gave their notice. The lady in the back that hired me had her hands over her head and was going, oh my God, I've lost my job. This guy, I'm going to be fired for sure. This is not what we agreed to. This guy's going off the rails and he's kicking butt. Well, when I got through, she couldn't look me in the eyes. And I told her, I said, you're one of the people that need to leave if you're not going to be engaged here. Because what I said is solid. I stand behind what I just said here today. And this company need to hear it. What you were doing is putting on fluffy stuff that wasn't going to get a job done. And you're paying ridiculous fees for people who are not engaged and inspired by this position. I said, so you may have to clean house, but when you get the right people in here, you're going to boom. So she didn't like that at all. She had to take me to lunch and didn't want to look at me. And then I had to get a car service back, and I went back to my office. And in those days, this is a while back, this is when they still had letters sent out. This is the beginning of emails and they still had a bit of the fax machines. And I got a hand-delivered note, hand-delivered in an envelope from the regional manager of IBM 10 days later. And I opened it up, and my secretary even came in there because she heard what happened. And she said, can I sit in and I listen to this letter? I want to hear this letter. I said, yeah. And it opens and it says, Dear Dr. Demartini, thank you for what you brought to IBM. We are on fire. We had already looked at laying off people. And it was astonishing, the people that gave their notice to the people we were going to lay off. You saved us a fortune in outplacement, a fortune in attitudes, and we're in hiring now of new people, and we're screening them and making sure they're inspired to do the job. Thank you. It's amazing. The lady got promoted and came with a humble attitude. Will you talk to me again? I said, I'm not upset. You were the one upset. No. And I said, the truth is there's an integrity issue. And there was people who were there for security purposes, and they were holding on to a job. You guys were holding on, and you don't realize that cost. And so this was a turning point in that particular company. So non-engaged people way down and gravitationally way down the company. And if you don't have a lightened up spirit and you don't have an enthusiasm, it was Peter Lynch that was asked in his One Up on Wall Street book back in the 90s. He says, after I do all my technical analysis and I do my quantitative analysis and to get down to the stocks, when I get it narrowed down, I will literally get on a plane and I'll go and visit the headquarters and meet the people and look. And I'm looking for 4 things. And if I don't see those 4 things, I don't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for people who are grateful for their job, loving what they're doing, inspired by the vision, and enthusiastically working. If I see that, I know I've got an engaged company and they're appreciating the work, and it will appreciate in value. So there's a soft side in addition to the quantitative side that can't be overlooked. You can't be a mechanist. You also have to have a vitalism in there. You got to have the energy and the fire of people who are inspired to solve problems. And that only comes from true engagement. You can't fake it. So that turned IBM. And to this day, I know that lady, and her son is now one of my students. And she still talks about that crazy turning point in her own life, because that made her self-reflect.
Of course.
And look at what is she there because she's for security? Because if you're there for security and survival, and you're not there for self-actualizing something on this planet to make a difference, you're missing out on your own life, let alone holding companies back and people from getting quality service.
Yeah. In our work, I'll often say, if you bring me in, they said, well, what are your promises? I said, if you bring me in, I guarantee out of 20 people, you'll probably lose 1 good one. And they go, what do you mean? Why would I lose 1 good one? Because that person is good at performing, but terrible for the culture. And you cannot afford that. That will cost you the most. And they go, well, if this person is blah, blah, blah. And I go, listen, when they go, everybody else's workload, everybody else's quality of work will go up. Their level of engagement will go up. So I'm totally with you. And I see it all the time. And they're always terrified of this. And I'm like, no, these people are an anchor. They're not, yes, they're showing the good numbers, but they're damaging on the energy of everybody else. And so nobody can fully perform because they watch you be out of integrity and letting this person get away with these things because of their numbers. And they go, why would I bother? Why would I bother? I'm with you.
Can I share another story?
Please.
I had my business back in 1983. I just expanded my little office. It was just starting. I started in 1982, my clinical office. And a guy comes in, this is 83, so they still had the Yellow Page ads. A guy comes in to sell me Yellow Pages. And they went up to the front and asked my assistant, and I had a moment and I'd consider it. And then this guy comes and tries to sell me Yellow Pages. And he did the most unbelievable, unfunctioning job of trying to sell me Yellow Pages that you could get. And I stopped him in the middle of it. I said, stop. He goes, your heart's not here. This is not your mission. What do you really want to do? Because that was the most ridiculous presentation I've ever had on anybody trying to sell me something. So stop. I know you couldn't be selling with what you just did. What is it in your heart that your life really demonstrates that you're really committed to, that you really want to do? This is not it. I mean, you're a young guy. I'm a younger, but you're even younger. What do you really want to do? He said, that bad, huh? I said, it was, I care about you. I really want to, I'm stopping right here because I care about you. What do you really want to do in life? He said, I want to be in the restaurant business. I said, is that what you really, really in your heart? Is that the dream you have? He goes, yeah. You could see it. He had teary eyes. Mm-hmm. And I said, go right now and get in the restaurant business. That's where your heart is. And then I sold him one of my audio cassettes on living integrally. And he bought it. It's funny. He came to make the sale. I made the sale. It's quite funny. He left. I never heard from the guy. 8 years goes by. My accountant asks if he can take me to lunch. We go to this little place, quick place, because we only had an hour. Mm-hmm. A super salad place where you kind of weigh food and you charge according to how much it weighs.
Yep.
We go in, and when I walk in, I see that young man, a little older, 8 years older. I couldn't believe it. I saw the man. I said, Dan, go on and get in line, and I'll be there in a moment. Get a tray for me. I see somebody I must say hi to. As I walked up to him, he was talking to a gentleman, giving him instructions. He didn't recognize me or see me at first. And then all of a sudden, I interfered and I said, excuse me. He turned and he goes, oh my God, Dr. Demartini. I said, I put my hands out. He said, no. He gave me a huge hug. Then he went and got that other guy he was talking to. He said, this is the guy I was telling you about that inspired me 8 years ago. This is the guy. And he said, I left your office. I went to a super salad. I got me a job in a restaurant. I worked my way up to manager. I saved the hell out of my money and I started to buy stock, and I have 8 franchises today and I'm on fire and I'm going to buy more. Thank you for kicking my butt that day. Because when people are really engaged and really authentic, they excel. They excel. It's when you got a square peg in a round hole that's not matching and they're not inspired by what they're doing, you don't get to see the great potential these people have. I don't think there's anybody that's not got potential. It's just that they're not engaged in what they're doing.
Yeah.
But this man, 8 franchises, and he's only 8 years older. So we're talking about late 20s now. He's a young kid. Mm-hmm. And he's got 8 franchises already.
It's pretty great.
So this guy's on his way to probably having 100 franchises or something in the future. But the point is that once he found out his real calling, his real métier, his real mission that he wanted to dedicate to, a man on a mission is unstoppable. Mm-hmm. It's not about success. Success and failure are polarities of fantasy and nightmares. A man on a mission and sees both of them as feedback to get them more authentic. Because the second you think you're successful, you're cocky and you're on your way down, as Keogh said in Coca-Cola Company. And the second you're down, you focus on priority again. You need neither of those, but both of those are feedbacks to what the real mission is that you want to dedicate to. And you can't stop a person who's got an individual on a mission. Man or woman's on a mission. They don't get stopped. They don't let things on the external world stop you or stop them. They see things on the way, not in the way. And they become engaged and see opportunity where other people see obstacles.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to be a great leader, oftentimes it's in recognizing when you have the wrong people who are good people. Like, you're a great person, you're doing a great job, but you're in the wrong job, mate. And I really want to say to you, it's one of the things I really loved about what Tony Hsieh did in his work with Zappos, which is, if you're in the wrong place, let's help you get to the right place. You shouldn't be here. You should be somewhere else. Please go do that. Now, as we sort of come towards the end of this part of the show, I want to bring that back to a personal level, because you started out in the world as a chiropractic doctor, and now you speak all over the world, as we said, to governments and large multinational companies. What was the turning point for you, John? What was it like? What happened for you that, okay, I'm going from that to this?
No. I had a dream when I was 17 years old to go to every country on the face of the earth and be a teacher and an educator. I also wanted to be involved in the healing arts and the study of philosophy. The chiropractic pathway was the philosophy and healing art that I wanted to master. And when I opened up my practice, I had a 970 square foot little office with one assistant. 18 months later, I had 5 doctors, 12 staff members, 5,000 square foot office. It was a tenfold increase in net income. And what I did is I learned to make a list of everything that I did in a day, and then look at what it produces per hour. How much meaning does it have? What is the actual spread on the cost if I hired somebody to do that particular job? What is the actual time I spend on it? And what is the actual final prioritization with those variables? And I reprioritized, organized, delegated, freed myself up to do what I did that was the most productive, most efficient, most meaningful thing that actually made the biggest difference. And I skyrocketed. That led me to people going, well, how did you do that? Doctors wanted me to come and do conferences on how they did that and help themselves clinically. That led into other industries, and that spread across the world. Now I've been blessed to speak in 155 countries, and we've reached people all over the world. But it started in that basic management of time, because if you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, it's going to fill up with low priority distractions don't. And if you don't fill your day with things that are really meaningful, you're going to devalue yourself, and so will the world. And so will your big company will be devalued. To the degree that everybody's engaged and in high priority, the value of the company goes up, guaranteed. And if not, it goes down. And that's the magnificence, because when it goes down, it's a feedback to let you know that you're losing authenticity and you're not engaged in what's meaningful, and you're not really caring about all the people involved. And it's forcing us to be authentic and with equity. It's forcing us. Every symptom in a business forces authenticity and integrity, equanimity, and equity. That's Brilliant. What all the symptoms are for. Once you get that, you realize that it's guiding you. It's not hurting you. It's guiding you back to what's true. That's what happened to me, and my outreach grew immensely because of that. Willing to keep staying on priority.
I love it, John. It's been a pleasure and an honor, sir. Thank you. We're very grateful to have you with us today. Before we go, please tell everybody where they can find out more about you and all your wonderful resources, and so they can reach out.
Just you can find me on drdemartini.com, DRDEMARTINI.com. It's a resource for, you could spend as long as you want just with the resources on there. There's articles, there's videos, there's podcasts, there's interviews, there's everything on there. Take advantage of it. It's free education for you. If you'd like to take your entrepreneurial state or your company to another level, there's plenty of information that can help you.
Fantastic. Again, it was a pleasure and an honor, sir. Thank you. And for you, dear listener, remember you can hang out with other conscious leaders and chat about this episode or any of our past episodes. Just look for us. Look for the Leadership and Loyalty podcast in either Facebook or LinkedIn. We've got groups in both of those. It doesn't matter how successful you are. If your employees and your customers don't understand what gives your company meaning, you're only working at a fraction of your true capability. To find out how you can hire me, Dov Baron, as a speaker or leadership strategist for yourself or your organization, simply go to dovbaron.com. That's DOVBARON.com. Because unified actualized meaning is the one single monolithic difference between mediocrity and greatness for all individuals and companies. I want to thank you for sharing the show with everybody you know. Till next time, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about where your true priorities are, where your deep values are, as opposed to your societal values, so that you can live in great integrity, be fully engaged in your life, and live your truth. I'm Dov Baron. I'm here to assist you, tapping into your deepest meaning to reach that next level of clarity, focus, purpose, and profit in your business, your life, and your leadership impact. And I am out.